Can you hear me, by the way? Am I on? Is my gain up enough?
I'm going to go. Your book is in the other room. I'm going to run and grab your book.
Right.
I'll be right back.
Cool. Cool.
And you can introduce yourself while I'm getting your book.
All right. You want me to introduce myself?
Sure. Okay.
Sure. Hey, my name is Randy Blythe, and I'm a moron. I sing for, I sing. Well, I am, but a controlled moron now, at least. I sing for a heavy metal band called Lamb of God, and I'm also a Leica Camera USA photographer and an author. I wrote the book Dark Days about it deals with some legal difficulties I had in the Czech Republic, and also it touches on my there it is, plug. I do not have a free download to offer out for that. My publisher Hachette would not be too stoked on that, but if you want to read it, you can look it up. But it also,
we've got 4 copies to give away, Randy.
Sick, amazing. How are we going to decide who gets it?
Oh, I don't know.
All right, well, cool. No, it deals also with alcoholism, because I view everything in my life, every single thing in my life, through the lens of my alcoholism, because it affects everything. And certainly I'm a musician and a photographer and a writer and a piss poor actor, but I, to myself, am first and foremost an alcoholic, and I have to deal with that on a daily basis, or else all the other cool, fun stuff I have will go away.
So, how are you dealing with the lockdown? Are you in lockdown? Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and we have a stay-at-home order, I suppose, which it's not like some sort of, I don't know, martial law. The military is on the streets, got us on lockdown or whatever. It's just suggested to shelter in place. If you don't need to be out, don't do it. If you can work from home, do it. Observe social distancing, wear a mask in public, all that kind of stuff, So I'm okay. I'm honestly, I think, once again, through alcoholism, I think emotionally I'm probably better prepared for isolation than a lot of people, because at the end of my drinking, I was completely isolated. I wasn't like going out to drink for fun and party with people. I was drinking because it was simply what I did, how I existed, how I processed the world, as it were. It was my tool to deal with the world, and it worked at first for a long time. Regrettably, it's a tool with a built-in faulty mechanism, in that it not only stops working, it begins to actively damage you. The isolation part of alcoholism is given me a few years of preparation for this, and frankly, as well, going to prison, that that prepares you to be isolated pretty effectively. In prison, we didn't have Zoom conferences or Netflix or really anything, So I'm doing okay. It is strange for me. I think the strangest thing about this for me is not being able to touch my friends. I'm a big time hugger. I love exuberantly embracing my friends, whether they want Whether they enjoy it or not, it doesn't matter to me because I'm a selfish motherfucker. So I'm gonna, I love hugging you. You know, I'm gonna give you a hug, and at this point, you know, I'm ready to hug the stranger on the street when they're finally like, it's done. The coronavirus is done. I'm just gonna be running down the street attacking people like, come here. You know. But you know, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right.
But I think one of the things we're talking about today is how we're finding a silver lining, how artists we're dealing with this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And is it every day or every second day you do a random Instagram hug where you post a picture of somebody and tell a story about that person? I think that's super cool.
Right. Yeah, I started doing that, and I haven't posted in a couple of days because I had some family stuff to deal with and a lot of work stuff. I'm also doing a lot of press right now because we have a record coming out. It was supposed to come out yesterday, but due to the supply chain to distributors and retailers not picking up stuff, being disrupted, the release date got moved to, I think, January. Not January. God, that'd be a long time. To next month, June 18th, I think. You know, because the record label wants to sell records. Shoot, the train just left the station. Oh, I've actually been busy doing a lot of press and so forth, and what was dude? Somehow it just my brain just misfired. Like
we were just talking about reaching out, touching people.
Oh, right. So yeah, I've been busy, and that's why I haven't posted in a couple of days, right? But I did because I was missing my friends and hugging them and being able to touch them so much, and my family. You know, I can't touch my family. My parents are older. My grandmother is 99 years old. I can't hug her. So I decided to start randomly picking one person who's a friend of mine and posting their picture and giving them a virtual hug. You know, so and I've been going boy girl. So yeah, just because there's some people out there I know who are more isolated than others, and some people they live with someone, some people live alone. You know, it's just nice to, I think, have someone say, "Hey, man, I'm thinking about you. Here's a hug," and tell them the reason why you're thinking about them. You know, why you love them. I think it's important, and that is one good thing that is coming out of this this pandemic. I think is that people are reconnecting with friends, you know, and people they haven't talked to in a long time, and being like, "What's going on in your life? I miss you. I love you." You know, because the pace of modern life is so it's hurry, and everything is relegated to, you know, bite-sized soundbite communication often the times, and it's impossible to have any sort of meaningful discourse in just a like on an Instagram post, you know. And I think our attention span in societies has shrunk due to this sort of bite-sized communication devices. I mean, I'm not a Luddite by any means. Here I am. I'm here, you know. So, but I think having longer conversations where they can go left and right, and you can explore ideas, even just with your friends, is important, you know.
So the album has been delayed.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a tour as well.
Yeah, we had several.
Yeah, I think, were you going out for a year?
Well, I mean, everything is. I was supposed to go to Europe, right? We were supposed to do a headlining tour. It was us, this band Creator, and this younger band Power Trip. We were supposed to start in Sweden, I think, and end in the UK. And that was in April, ending sometime around now, I think. Or maybe it was March and April, I can't remember. But that got canceled, and they're trying to rebook it, I believe, tentatively for the end of this year. And we're supposed to go out on a co-headliner with Megadeth uh, starting June 12th in Virginia. It's a Live Nation gig. Live Nation has not officially pulled the plug on that, but I think they said that someone told me they said that they were canceling all tours. They haven't announced our tour is canceled yet. I don't, I mean, I haven't even been told our tour is canceled yet, but I don't see how it's supposed to happen. And in between Europe and the Lamb of God Megadeth tour, I was supposed to be going on tour with this band of lunatics called Pigface too. And I was just going to go right on. I was going to go out, blam, 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 and run right up into the ass of the Lamb of God tour. Screw it. But all that has gone away. And, it's just going to be a matter of time. I think that live music, particularly shows of bands of our nature and bands like Pigface, are going to be one of the last things to come back, because there's going to be no social distancing implemented at a Lamb of God show. There's just not. The first riff in total mayhem it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, never mind the pit at a Pigface show.
Yeah.
On stage at a Pigface show.
Oh yeah, we can't operate we can't do that.
Yeah, I think the first thing might be I'll be in a plexiglass surrounded thing telling stories about people.
Also from tour. I love this fucking thing. I used to just fucking shove it into the bucket, yes. I see Leslie and Cursor here, and Galen, everybody. I love you guys, man. We got half a Pigface in here. Fuck yeah! Shout out.
Yeah, Greta's in.
Oh yeah, Greta. I see her.
I see Roger's in. So yeah, excuse us, it's pretty weird just having a band reunion.
Yeah, we're supposed to I believe right about now we were supposed to be leaving, I think, and we with the Quartet of Doom would be ensconced in the back of the bus, like judging everyone and trying to save our voice. So
you're right, it is difficult. We'd started to do things with Pigface where we would let fans come to rehearsals, so then there'd just be a line of. I remember you walking into rehearsals, and I think a bystander might say, "Okay, Randy's going to come in. They'll work on songs for about 8 hours and then try and perform them." You just came in, sang 3 songs, completely killed it. I wanted to say, "We're done," and kind of carried on for an hour just to pretend that we needed to rehearse, but it was just killer. But the days of having 100 people in a room with sweat and vocal energy coming out, that's going to be difficult.
It is. It's going to be for a little while, but this is going to pass, right? One thing, I'm going to blow off a little steam, and it's going to sound negative, but it's actually positive. The talking heads, whether it be newscasters or politicians or whatever, keep on using this term in these unprecedented times. Unprecedented. No, it's not unprecedented. We've had many, 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 many pandemics throughout the history of humanity, and we are still here. The most recent one, global pandemic, being the Spanish flu. It killed millions and millions and millions of people, and they did not even have the technology that we have now. So somehow humanity got through it. Is it scary? Yes. Is it going to kill people? Yes. Is it completely destroying businesses and everything, driving some people into poverty? Yes. But is it unprecedented? No, it is not. I think a lot of the media pushes this sort of hyper scary stuff, and yes, it is scary. I have people that I'm very much concerned for, whether they be immunocompromised or elderly. Yes, it is scary, but the media pushes this stuff in this scary, scary way in order to do one thing and one thing only: sell advertisement. You know, and that's important. You know, and that is what our news has devolved into. Period. No matter what, and everything is super politicized, which is problematic, as we all know. You know, I have issue with the politicization of just the common well-being. You know, that's what we all need to be worried about. You know, we need to take a step back and like, look, how can we protect our at-risk population? You know, and not to minimize the economic impact of things either, because there's a lot of people hurting right now. That's one reason why I think it's so cool you're doing this free thing here. You know.
Well, I'm trying to just kind of um, get my students the experience of doing this.
Right.
Well, I've been telling them for the last few weeks, I want them to be in an interview and have somebody say, "Well, it says on your resume you made a difference during the pandemic. What did you do?"
Right.
Well, I want them to say, "We fucking tripled the attendance of an event that we thought we were going to do in one way, and we did it in another, and we pivoted, and we raised this amount of money, we communicated with this amount of people, and we made a difference."
Yes.
I just want to,
Adapt, and overcome. And we can only deal, and this also deals with sobriety, right? Because for me, as I said, I process everything through the lens of my alcoholism. When I was in active alcoholism, when I drank to deal with all of my issues, I tended to awfulize everything in my head. I'm a catastrophizer. So I would sit there and think, oh my God, you know, I forgot to mow my lawn. And due to the butterfly effect, eventually within 30 seconds, we'd be at World War III. Bombs would be dropping. You know, I'm catastrophizing things. I'm future tripping. I'm thinking far and agonizing over an unknowable, uncontrollable future. And that is that's horrific for your mental and emotional health. I lived that way for a long time. When I got sober, a big thing that helped me was being cognizant of the reality of each individual moment and remaining in each individual moment and trying my best to remain grateful for each individual moment, the experience of it, even when it's not the most comfortable thing. Because my life so far, this moment is the only thing that exists. I'm not trying to get spacey and zen or anything, but it really is when you think about it. We go through existence experiencing individual moments. My life so far has consisted of one long string of this very moment. So what I have to do in this moment is decide how I am going to best use my time, best use this moment, you know. And things are challenging right now, but there are opportunities, as you're showing, you know, by doing this, to take advantage of this and to notice the beautiful parts of this and make the best of this moment. You know, when I'm drinking, all that shit goes out the window. You know, that's it. Because when and it's a strange thing, man. When I drink, because I'm a nice guy at heart, believe it or not. You know, I'm relatively well spoken and I have manners. I was raised correctly. When I'm drinking, all that goes out the window. I'll take one drink, and then it kicks off this chain reaction when in my head and in my body where all I care about is the next drink. You know, so the only way I know to prevent that is to not take the first drink. You know, and it took me a long time of struggling and fighting that because I didn't want to believe that I could not control my drinking. You know, I didn't want to believe that, even though there were mounds of evidence. You know, and you know, my family is telling me, and my friends are telling me, And the fine gentlemen of the Fraternal Order of Police in Richmond, Virginia, were telling me, and judges were telling me. None of that shit made a difference. Because I didn't want to believe that I couldn't control my drinking, and that being said, that's also an important distinction. I'm talking about myself. I do not think there's anything wrong inherently with drinking, right? I think it's wrong for me, because I'm different than people who can drink normally. I'm vastly, vastly, vastly different. Like my mom, on Christmas, she'll have a couple of glasses of wine and she'll be like, "Ooh," starting to feel a little buzzy, a little dizzy. She's like, "That's enough. That's enough." And I'm like, that does not make sense to me. That's when you're just starting to get to the good stuff. I saw a counselor one time and they asked me, how much did you drink? How much do you drink? And I looked at her and I said, all of it. All of it. All of it. What else is there? What other point is there to it? So while I realize intellectually that people can drink normally, and some people, I even think it's good for them to get drunk every now and then and wake up with a hangover, and that reminds them of why they don't do that. That's for normal people. For me, when I wake up with a hangover and the wife has left me and all my money's gone and I might be in a jail cell, that thought of like maybe I ought never do that again, that never enters my mind. My mind says, "Oh my God, we hurt. Let's change the way we feel because we are uncomfortable right now, and I know how to change the way I feel. Alcohol, and so that's the difference between an alcoholic and a regular person. An alcoholic has an insane reaction to this sort of situation, and normal people are like, ugh, they'll swear off for a while.
You certainly had I had 16 years sober until my dad died.
Yeah.
And that was a real fuck it moment.
Right. Yeah, you caught a case of the fuck it's, as we say.
Yeah. And now I'm in and out of sobriety now, I guess. You were a really positive influence on the tour for anybody who wanted that. There was always a non-alcoholic beer. There's so many of them now.
Right.
Kind of handy to just to grab, to steal one of yours.
Yeah, man. Some of us who are alcoholic will drink NA beers, and some people don't. It's an individual choice. For some people, it might not be a wise decision. Because.
What's the thing? I actually, the people at Brewdog. So this is interesting to me.
Yes.
I think 10 years ago when NAs came out, maybe they've been around forever.
Right.
I would drink one and somebody would go, the slippery slope of why I don't know.
Right.
So
it could be.
Yeah.
It depends on your relationship. Okay, for me, it depends on your relationship on how you drink that beer. And I have to look, and that for me, as an alcoholic guy, I am addicted. Alcohol for me is just it's one manifestation of an addictive personality, right? So when I got sober, I noticed that I replaced my drinking with other things. With some people, it's sex. With some people, it's food. They're replacing this thing that they're missing. For me, and this is embarrassing, but I've admitted this publicly before. My problem was the bookstore. I went to the bookstore daily to go buy a book, like in order to find something, usually maybe some sort of self-help book that's going to make me feel better, that's going to change the way I feel, right? Because I'm uncomfortable in my own skin, because I don't have my I don't have my best friend, which was alcohol, which kept me company for 22 years. So when I removed that, I replaced it with this almost compulsive book shopping deal. It got really embarrassing, dude, because I would go to the Barnes and Nobles, you know, and I'd walk in and they'd wave at me, and the lady who worked at the Starbucks there knew exactly what I wanted. She'd start making it. I'm like, Christ. I mean, it's like going into a bar. You walk in and you're the regular at the bar, and they're like, boom, there's your drink. With me, it was the coffee at the Barnes and Noble. So I was trying to change the way I felt with an external substance. In this case, it would be buying a book, buying something to make me feel better. And I bought hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books, many of which I haven't read. I still have them because books are they're, I mean, it's better than buying crack, admittedly, but it was becoming problematic. So after a little while, I came down and became more comfortable in my own skin. And, during this pandemic right now, I've said so many times, thank fucking God I am sober. Thank fucking God. I cannot imagine being drunk right now. I can't imagine like what it would be like for me to be drunk in this lunacy. It would just be I'd make some really poor decisions because my history has shown me that. Also, conversely, I'm grateful that I don't have to get sober in this environment. I'm already sober. That being said, if someone is struggling with alcoholism, and they know they need to get sober, there is no time like the present, no matter what the circumstances are. One interesting thing about that is like, the, what do they call it? Essential businesses, is that correct? That stay open during this?
Yeah.
In every state, all the liquor stores are open. And one reason for this is medical, because if they close the liquor stores, some people might have DTs and die, because there's two substances that the withdrawals can kill you: alcohol, benzodiazepam. That being, Xanax, Klonopin, Valium, that type of stuff. The rest of the stuff is just going to make you feel like you're going to die. Like coming off opiates, coming off coke, even coming off meth, unless you have an underlying health condition, you're going to feel like shit, but you're getting better. If you have a really, if you have a strong addiction issue with alcohol, depending on your metabolism, or with benzodiazepams, if you immediately stop them, you can go into DTs, have a seizure, and it will kill you. So if you are a heavy duty alcoholic or really addicted to benzodiazepams and you want to stop, although right now is not the ideal time to go to a hospital or whatever, there are places you need to be medically detoxed. It's irresponsible for me, because I'm really only an expert on one thing, and that is my own alcoholism. But I can speak authoritatively on that. My alcoholism. But I've seen enough of it to know that if someone has, depending on how advanced they are in their alcoholism, or in their benzodiazepam addiction, they need to be medically detoxed, and this is very, very important because the DTs can kill you. That being said, if you want, I can tell you like the story of my first day sober.
Yeah, I got some questions from people. Tell me that story.
I'll tell you that story, and then I'll answer some questions if that's cool.
And I'm drinking some Ghost Walker.
Yeah, we did make an NA beer with BrewDog. We are the first, to my knowledge, the first banned non-alcoholic beer collaboration, which elicited some hilarious responses on our social media. They were split down the middle. When we announced it, half the people were like, many people didn't understand why a heavy metal band would do a non-alcoholic beer, but some of them were offended. We got so many, like, because I don't normally look at the comments on our Instagram, but I had to on the day we released this. We put it out there, we've released non-alcoholic beer. Some people were like, fuck you, like they were mad. They were like, fuck you. And a lot of really hilarious things. I saved a bunch of the comments. People were like, no one wants to drink this piss water. Someone wrote one of my favorite comments was, typical liberal singer. If he can't drink, no one else can. And then the other comment was, thanks a lot, Randy. What else are you going to ruin for us? Which I thought was fucking hilarious because there's thousands of other regular beers. Thousands of other regular beers, right? They made it sound as if I'm taking away all the beer in the world. And I am going to enforce that you can only drink my non-alcoholic branded beer. It was fucking hilarious.
I would respond to that with a Lamb of God video where all the instruments are replaced with xylophones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the other half of the people, though, that responded, our fans, so many people were like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's not just from people who are alcoholics like myself. I got some messages from people with different medical conditions. This one guy was like, I just got diagnosed with epilepsy. I can no longer drink. The doctors have told me, but I love craft beer. Thank you for making this. And it was supposed to be released while we were in Europe, and it was going to be offered at the shows because that way maybe if someone's a designated driver or whatever, they can still have a good beer because it tastes like fucking real beer, man. Because I designed it, by the way. We didn't just sign off on BrewDog, and I know a lot about beer because I drank it for 22 years and worked in a craft beer bar. So I went to the BrewDog brewery and designed it, and but we offered, we made an offer for it, so it's an option for people, and it was supposed to be released while we were on tour, but obviously that didn't happen, so we just kind of had to release it then. But yeah, so we got an NA beer out. If you want to try it, you can. It's not for everyone, and we aren't saying this is the solution for everyone. It's just an option. Yeah.
I'm not just saying that because it does taste pretty good to me, and some of that stuff is just pissy.
Oh yeah, it's shite. Galen, did you want to say something?
Well, on the tour, you let me try the BrewDog and a stout.
You're really loud.
Oh, I am? Sorry.
Exceedingly. Back up, girl. You're blowing my head off.
Okay, is it better now? I'm talking really quiet.
Yes.
Is it better? Okay.
I love you.
So I tried the NA stout that you gave me on tour,
yeah.
And that was good because I have heart palpitations when I get overstressed, and alcohol makes it worse. Right. So there's a lot of reasons you might not want to drink, and crappy NA beers are just a travesty. So good ones. Yay. Yes.
So, yeah. So if you want, I'll just give you a brief rundown of the last day I drank into the first day of sobriety, if that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were on tour in Australia, and this was in 2010. This is October of 2010. October 17th of 2010 in Brisbane, Australia. We were on tour with a little band called Metallica, and I went out with some friends that night, and I had this fan come up to us at the bar, and he was just like, holy shit, it's you. And I was like, oh God. I'm like, okay, dude, and he just sat down with us. Like, it wasn't like, hey, I'm a fan, nice to meet you. He sat down with us, and I was like, ugh, and was just staring at me like a crazy person. He wouldn't leave, so I was like, all right, dude, you're gonna buy the drinks. So he would not leave us alone, so I burned up every last Australian dollar he had in his wallet, going bar to bar to bar to bar. I was an asshole to him. I was mean to him, and we drank so fucking much. And this guy at the end of the night could barely move, and I was miserable because I had reached a point where it stopped working. The alcohol just wasn't working anymore, and I felt pretty sober after drinking like 18 beers and God knows how many shots. So I went home and I was like, that sucks. So the next day I woke up and I walked out onto my balcony, and I had a really nice hotel room. It was like a suite. I had a balcony. It was on the main street in Brisbane. Botanical gardens were right down to the other side. And there's weird animals in there because you're in Australia. Across the street was one of my favorite bookstores in the world. I'm a huge book nerd, as I've already mentioned. And then there's great restaurants all along this street. And I walked out and I sat down, and I didn't even manage to get drunk the night before, despite the prodigious amount of alcohol I put in me. But I still had that horrible day after feeling. So I sat down on my balcony and I looked at all the beer bottles from the night before that I had arranged on this table, and they were perfectly ordered, right? Because I'm a little OCD-ish even when I'm fucked up. They were perfectly ordered and empty. And I looked at them and I was like, those beer bottles are a metaphor for my life. They're empty. I am nothing more than a receptacle for alcohol right now. And even though everything is perfectly orderly, my life looks good on the outside, all it would take is one little tiny nudge and it's all going to come crashing to the ground. And I looked out of the balcony at all these cool things around me, the botanical gardens, this bookstore, and all these restaurants. And I'm going to play with Metallica that night in front of 17,000 people. And I was like, I don't want to live anymore. And I was in a good place, you know. I had money in the bank. I'm on tour with one of the biggest bands in the world. Still in a relationship, all that shit. And I was like, I don't want to live anymore, you know. So I was like, I've got to try something different. And so I decided to not drink, to at least for that day. I'm like, I'm not going to drink. And I went to the gig, and I, you know, James Hetfield was there, and he's sober, and a few other people were there, and I'm just like, help me, you know, because I talked to them about it. That's another thing. You can talk to other people if you're struggling. You don't have to struggle with this by yourself like I did for years and years and years and years and years. It doesn't work, you know. So I was like, help me. They talked to me, and they're like, you're going to be okay, dude. And so I talked to them and changed clothes, and 20 minutes later, I walked on stage in front of 17,000 people crying because I was just one raw nerve, and I had my hair down in my face, dude, like, because I'm playing this heavy metal show, and I'm a tough guy, you know, but I'm just weeping, trying to scream Lamb of God lyrics, you know, and that went on. I got through the show. And then I went home and took a shower and went to bed, and the next day I woke up and did it all over again, and it was very raw for a while, but that was my first day sober, you know. And I got sober on heavy metal tours, surrounded by free alcohol and free fucking drugs. So I'm saying that's a difficult environment to do it in, you know, because it's there. But I did it, you know, and anyone can. So that's why I tell people, you know, no matter what your circumstances, you can stop killing yourself. You can stop killing yourself. You can make a conscious decision and stop doing this. Most of us have to hit some sort of bottom, you know? Like, nobody wakes up and gets sober because, like, hey, everything's okay, you know? Normally we have to hit some sort of bottom. For me, it was an emotional bottom. Because I just drank through homelessness and divorce and going to jail and all that shit. I just drank through it. In the end, I was in a good place, hit bottom. So, yeah, I did it on tour, and that if I can do that, I believe anyone can, you know.
Well, wow. That's kind of an intense situation to have that happen. Are you? For me, I think I started drinking because of shyness.
Yeah.
Overly shy.
Well, I think, dude, I think that's, I'm a front man in a pretty well-known band, and I haven't been nervous about being on stage in a long time. People are like, don't you get stage fright? I'm like, not anymore. In the beginning, maybe I got nervous, but I was fucked up, so I didn't care, you know? As far as shyness, I've never been particularly a very shy person, but I have felt since I was a child I didn't fit in. I'm like I don't fit in, and so no matter no matter who I'm around, even